Imagine waking up one morning to a world where every nuclear bomb on Earth exploded at once.
The skies darken to an eerie twilight,
The ground trembles beneath your feet.
and the very air feels charged with an unfathomable energy.
Life as we know it changes in an instant.
How would such an unprecedented catastrophe unfold?
What would happen to our planet, our atmosphere, and the future of humanity?
This is What If Explanations, and today we're diving deep into the chilling scenario of a simultaneous global nuclear explosion. Hey everyone, welcome back.
Today we're tackling a heavy topic, but it's one that sparks a lot of curiosity and, let's be honest, a fair bit of anxiety.
We're talking about what would happen if every nuclear bomb on Earth exploded at the same time. Now, before we jump in, let's set the stage.
Currently, there are about 13,000 nuclear warheads spread across the globe,
These are held by 9 countries.
with the vast majority in the hands of the United States and Russia.
That's a staggering number, but what does it actually mean in terms of explosive power?
Well, the combined yield of all these nukes is estimated to be around 3,000 megatons.
To put that into perspective, that's about 200,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima during World War II.
The Hiroshima bomb had a yield of approximately 15 kilotons, and it devastated an entire city. So what if all that destructive power was unleashed at once? Let's break it down step by step. First off, the simultaneous detonation of all nuclear bombs would create an unfathomable explosion.
Imagine multiple explosions equivalent to thousands of megatons of TNT occurring all over the planet at the same time.
Major cities, military bases, and strategic locations would be obliterated in seconds.
The immediate blast radius of each bomb would merge with others in close proximity, creating massive firestorms that would incinerate everything in their path.
The heat generated would be so intense that it could cause third-degree burns to people from the epicenters.
Buildings would crumble under the immense pressure of the blast waves.
Infrastructure such as bridges, roads, and power lines would be destroyed.
The loss of life would be astronomical, with estimates easily reaching into the hundreds of millions, if not billions.
The shock waves from the explosions would circle the globe multiple times.
These shockwaves wouldn't just be felt in the immediate vicinity. They'd propagate through the Earth's crust, potentially triggering earthquakes in tectonically active regions.
If any of the bombs were detonated underwater or near fault lines, the likelihood of tsunamis increases.
Coastal areas could be hit by massive waves, causing further destruction and loss of life.
The ground shaking could also lead to landslides in mountainous regions.
The combined effect of these geological events would compound the devastation caused by the initial explosions.
One of the most devastating effects would be the radioactive particles would be thrown high into the atmosphere, spreading far beyond the initial blast zones.
This radioactive dust, known as fallout, would be carried by wind currents across the globe.
Areas downwind of the explosions would be exposed to high levels of radiation.
This would contaminate air, water, and soil, making large areas uninhabitable for years or even decades,
People exposed to high levels of radiation could suffer from
leading to symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and hemorrhaging.
the damage to the body's cells could be severe, often resulting in death within days or weeks.
Long-term effects would include increased cancer rates, birth defects, and genetic mutations in future generations.
The healthcare systems, already overwhelmed or destroyed, wouldn't be able to cope with the sheer number of affected individuals.
Now, here's where things get even more severe.
The explosions and resulting fires would send massive amounts of soot and ash into the stratosphere.
Scientists estimate that such an event could inject up to into the upper atmosphere.
This would block sunlight from reaching the Earth's surface, leading to a phenomenon known as a nuclear winter.
Temperatures worldwide could drop dramatically, potentially by several degrees Celsius.
Some models suggest temperature drops in certain regions.
This sudden cooling would disrupt weather patterns, shorten growing seasons, and lead to widespread crop failures.
Photosynthesis in plants would be severely hindered due to the lack of sunlight.
Food shortages would become a critical issue, and starvation could claim even more lives than the initial explosions.
The impact on ecosystems would be catastrophic.
Plants rely on sunlight for photosynthesis, and without enough light, they would struggle to survive.
This would have a domino effect up the food chain.
Herbivores would die off due to the lack of plant life.
Carnivores that rely on herbivores for food would soon follow.
The loss of biodiversity would be immense, with many species potentially going extinct.
Ocean life wouldn't be spared either.
Changes in temperature and sunlight penetration would disrupt marine ecosystems.
The foundation of the marine food web depend on sunlight for photosynthesis.
A decline in phytoplankton would affect the entire oceanic food chain.
Coral reefs could die due to temperature changes and increased acidity from the absorption of carbon dioxide.
Fish populations could collapse, affecting communities that rely on the sea for sustenance.
Nitrogen oxides produced by the explosions could deplete the ozone, which protects life on Earth from harmful ultraviolet UV radiation.
Damage to the ozone layer could allow more UV radiation to reach the Earth's surface, leading to increased cases of skin cancer and cataracts in humans and animals.
It could also affect plant life, further exacerbating food shortages.
If there are any survivors, they would face a grim reality.
Societal structures would break down.
Communication networks would be destroyed, leaving survivors isolated.
Medical facilities would be overwhelmed or destroyed, making it difficult to treat injuries and illnesses.
Access to clean water, food, and shelter would be limited.
Radiation exposure would make some areas too dangerous to inhabit.
The survivors would have to deal with harsh climate conditions due to the nuclear winter, making agriculture nearly impossible.
Communities might become isolated, leading to conflicts over the scarce resources that remain.
Law and order could break down, and survival could become a daily struggle.
The global economy would collapse, and it could take generations for humanity to rebuild, if at all.
Even after the dust settles, the long-term environmental effects would persist.
Radiation can linger in the environment for years.
Some isotopes have half-lives of around 30 years. Others, have half-lives of over 24,000 years.
This means they remain hazardous for a very long time.
The contamination of soil and water would make agriculture and habitation difficult in affected areas.
The recovery of ecosystems would be slow.
Forests might eventually regrow, and animal populations could rebound, but the loss of biodiversity could be irreversible in some areas.
Species that are already endangered could be pushed to extinction.
We also can't overlook the psychological toll.
The trauma of experiencing such an event would have lasting effects on survivors.
Mental health issues like depression and anxiety would be widespread.
The loss of loved ones, homes, and the way of life would be a heavy burden to bear.
The uncertainty of the future and the harsh living conditions would compound these issues, making recovery even more challenging.
On a broader scale, the fabric of global society would be torn apart.
Governments might fall, and new power structures could emerge.
The loss of cultural landmarks, historical sites, and centers of learning would set back human progress significantly.
International relations would be strained, and cooperation between nations could become difficult.
Trust would be eroded, and the focus would shift to survival rather than collaboration.
The combined effects of immediate destruction, environmental catastrophe, and societal collapse would challenge the very survival of our species.
Some pockets of humanity might endure, especially in remote areas less affected by the blasts and fallout.
These survivors would face the monumental task of rebuilding society from the ground up.
They would need to relearn skills, rebuild infrastructure, and perhaps most importantly, learn from the mistakes of the past to avoid repeating them.
While this is a hypothetical scenario, it underscores the immense destructive power that nuclear weapons hold.
It reminds us of the importance of nuclear disarmament and international cooperation to prevent such a catastrophe from ever happening.
Organizations like the United Nations exist to reduce the number of nuclear weapons and prevent their spread.
It's crucial for nations to work together towards disarmament and to promote peace.
As individuals, we might feel powerless in the face of such global issues, but there are actions we can take.
Educating ourselves and others about the dangers of nuclear weapons is a start.
Supporting organizations and policies that promote disarmament and peace can make a difference. Engaging in dialogues about the ethical implications of nuclear weapons and advocating for responsible leadership are steps towards a safer world.
It's a stark reminder of the responsibility that comes with such power and the importance of working towards a safer, more peaceful world.
Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into a chilling what-if scenario.
Remember, knowledge is the first step towards change.
If you found this explanation insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking content.
This has been What If Explanations. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.